Hey guys, my name is Jeff, and this is the 2024 Kia Telluride X Pro. And it is the most popular three-row, scratch that. It is the most popular SUV that you'll find on sale today. So much so, in fact, that these earned the nickname Telluride because people were just clamoring to get their hands on the Kia Telluride. And for 2024, it features a variety of changes, including the fact that they brought back the amber lights on the exterior. They went white for a moment there in 2023, but now they're amber again. And we even have some other trim changes with this nice glossy black appearance on the X Pro and X Line models, of which this one is. And this vehicle is also popular because of the value proposition with a starting price of $36,190 that can work its way up to $55,500 for this, the more luxurious SX trim with the X Pro off-road package to make it a bit more rugged. And in this video, we'll find out why these are so desirable as we go through the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, we'll take it for a drive. So here are the keys to the Kia Telluride: remote start, lock, unlock, power rear hatch, and when you mess with any of the buttons, it actually turns green here on the key fob, and of course you get to see your new for 2024 amber lights on the exterior as well. Now this particular model, of course, being an X Pro, is going to be a bit more rugged as the off-road version, but it's still an SX trim level, meaning it's going to be a little bit on the higher side. It's going to be a bit more luxurious without going full tilt on the luxury side, so we'll talk about that more on the interior. Now, looking at the exterior, one of the ways you can identify an X Line or X Pro vehicle is actually going to be this glossy black trim, also new for 2024 over the black chrome that used to exist, which looks quite sharp and makes it look just a little bit more butch on the exterior of the vehicle. Now, one of the interesting things about the X Pro model is they wanted to do a little bit more to try and make it a bit more off-roady. And so one of the things that's different is this actually has more ground clearance, about 8.4 inches to be exact, over the standard Telluride, which is about 8 inches. Now, they didn't add a lift kit, so how did they do that? Well, it's actually in these wheels and tires here. So if we go ahead and take a look, we can see that we have these rugged looking off-road wheels and tires. And what happens here that's also interesting is these are 18-inch wheels. Normally on the SX or Prestige packages, which are the more luxury options, you get the larger, luxurious 20-inch wheels. But not the case here. The off-road one, they went for the smaller 18s so they could fit these very aggressive looking Continental off-road tires, part of the X Pro package, which also actually features sidewall protection. So not too shabby there in terms of the actual tire choice. And that's what's going to add most of your ground clearance. That being said, it's not much ground clearance. There are certainly more options there on the market that are much better suited to off-roading, but I guess, you'll take it if you're going to be using your Telluride off-road. It's not too shabby, but there's not a whole lot there in the terms of the approach angle. I think it's about 17 degrees. So not ideal, but hey, I guess you're not going to go rock crawling in your Telluride, but it'll be just fine for certain trails and stuff like that. You do, of course, get these awesome projection LED headlights. You do get LED turn signal indicators with your power folding mirrors. Of course, these black roof rails and stuff, which look quite sharp. You even get privacy glass in the back, so you can see the tinted back half there, including the black side pillars, which look quite nice and blend it to make it look all quite sharp. One of the other things I like that's kind of a nice luxury feature here is the fact that we actually get keyless entry for the driver and passenger side of the vehicle, not just the driver's side like some vehicles. Some also do it on all 4 doors, which would have been nice to see, but I will take at least one on each side. So that's a pretty nice feature. Notice the black side cladding on the side. That'll help protect it while you're off-roading. It's much cheaper to replace the plastic than it would be to replace an entire painted fender. That would be very, very costly. Now, one of the other cool things is the actual construction of the Kia Telluride. So what you have here is unibody construction, but you get fully independent suspension underneath with stabilizer bars front and rear, and depending on your trim level, you can actually get a rear self-leveling mode, which this one has, which is quite nice. You also get 4-wheel disc brakes, and here on the X Pro, you also get the improved towing capacity of up to 5,500 pounds, which is quite impressive and means that you can tow a lot of things with you wherever you decide to take your Telluride. As we come around to the back here, we also have LED lighting. We can see we have this body color spoiler, which is quite sharp. Of course, our cameras, which are going to have to do with our mirrors that we'll see on the inside. And you even get your power lift hatch functionality, which is quite nice as well. It can be activated through the key fob automatically, or even touching the buttons like I just did there. And you get lots of space with the 3rd row folded down, or you can fold it up to fit more people, depending on what your use case is. But with that, it's a quick look at the exterior of the very good looking Kia Telluride. Telluride. Moving on to the interior of the Kia Telluride, this one, like I said, the X Pro is an SX trim level, so it is going to be almost luxurious. Not full blown, but it is, in my opinion, 99% of the way there. I mean, just look at this. These seats, which are trimmed in Napa leather, X Pro embossed in the seats as well, perforated centers with this unique stitching pattern. And normally the Kia Telluride features seating for 8, but in this particular instance, we actually have the captain's chairs in the second row, and you can see with the third row there, which actually is supposed to seat 3, but that center seat is not much of a seat at all. So maybe 3 very small children, but for most realistic purposes, I would just say that this seats 6 in this configuration and 7 when you have the full second row. So that's the way I see it. Like I said, in a pinch, maybe you could fit 3 in the third row, but realistically, that's the way I'd view it. Now, that being said, this one has some of the very luxurious options. So here in the front, obviously, we have these power adjustable heated and ventilated front seats, which are very luxurious, memory for the driver. But even in the back, you can actually option, and this one does have it, heated and ventilated seats for even the second row, and they even get their own control console back here for 3-zone climate control, plus their own cup holders found here, even some USB chargers and some more ports down here for charging, which is all quite nice. You also get a variety of other cup holders and things in the back for the back seats, including their own speakers as part of the Harman Kardon luxury system that's in this car. And this sort of pseudo suede microfiber feeling material in the roof goes all the way through it, which also feels very, very premium, very luxurious. Also nice to have the vents. You should also note some of the various details here, like some of the various shade structures that exist. It's just quite a nice vehicle, regardless of what seat you're in. With that being said, let's hop into the front. As we get in here, go ahead and hit our power start stop, and the car comes to life with all of the fun Kia animations. One of the interesting things that you'll notice is we have this big long display here, which is actually 2 different displays, about 12.3 inches each, which combines for over 24 inches of real estate, which is not too shabby there. Obviously, this main one separated for the driver's display, and we also have a heads-up display in this one. And then you have this one, which is going to be your center infotainment display, which of course comes standard with navigation. You also get CarPlay and Android Auto, which is basically standard these days in all cars. This is sort of the main screen it sits on, which is sort of meant to be less distracting, but you can easily swipe through to the other menus, which can be a bit much at first, but you quickly start to learn your way around. And one of the things I like it is quite a responsive system as well. It's fairly easy to access whatever you're looking for adjusting your various features. So quite nice. It's easy enough to use. One of the other things I like is this can be very distracting. I'm not supposed to really use it while you're driving, but they also included all of these physical buttons down here, which will allow you to quickly move through whatever specifically you might be looking for in terms of your overall adjustment. So that's a really smart move by Kia. It's nice to have both the physical buttons and the actual touchscreen here in this main screen. You'll also notice that we have heated steering wheel buttons for leather-wrapped steering wheel, which is quite nice. And the button layout is absolutely perfect. This is just like something that Mazda used to use. And it's so functional, easy to use. It's almost intuitive because all of these buttons are so easy to use just with your thumb on each side of the steering wheel, which includes your various driver assists, including your lane stability, all that type of stuff. Cruise control can all easily be managed from here. Now moving on, we have our various climate controls down below. You can even see our ventilated and heated seats options can sit down here. We also have this nice little cubby, which has a wireless charger, USB, our shifter for our automatic transmission. So this is our 8-speed, goes into drive. I like that it physically moves. That makes me feel a lot more confident in the shifts rather than the adjustable dials. And you can even flick it over like this, which puts it in a manual shift mode. Not that you'll be using that very often in your Kia Telluride. You can also see we have our cup holders, which don't really adjust that much, aren't going to hold anything too tight in place if it's too small. We have our various drive modes, which is incredibly cool, including some of our locking buttons to help us get stuck and get more places off-road. Comfort, Sport, Smart, Eco, Snow, all of those are somewhat self-explanatory. It's going to change the vehicle driving dynamics based on what mode you put it in. Things like holding the revs out, RPM, or even limiting your throttle inputs for better fuel economy. So that's what a lot of that will do. Of course, you get storage spaces in here, lots of charging. It's just a very nice vehicle. One of the things I appreciate about Kia is that it feels like there's a lot of thought and effort put out into what they design. And then they have these great entry-level prices. I mean, look at everything you're getting for this price. Not to mention, you also get a digital rear-view mirror, which to me is super important for three-row SUVs, because when you're not using the digital rear-view mirror, sometimes the seat headrests in the third row aren't currently up, but for the most part, they'll usually block your vision. So by using the video, you now completely look past all of that and your vision is no longer blocked, which is a huge benefit. Over here, you'll also notice some of our various roof controls and even our lighting controls. But all in all, I am seriously impressed with everything that you get in here. It's so comfortable, it's so livable as well. And the sound system, all of the luxurious amenities you get in here, everything just works, and it does it in such a way that feels very forward looking. So huge props to Kia on the interior. I think anybody that gets one of these is going to immediately. Under the hood, the Kia Telluride is available with a single powertrain, regardless of what trim you choose to go with. It's a powerful V6. Now, unlike some of its competitors, where the lower trim models are only available with a 4-cylinder. So what we have here is a naturally aspirated 3.8-liter V6, good for 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque, which makes this one of the more powerful models, although a lot of them are pretty close, coming in around 280 horsepower. That is then paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission, also standard across the board, but what does change is your actual drivetrain. So it starts with a front-wheel drive availability, and it works its way up to an active all-wheel drive system, like the one found here in our Kia Telluride X Pro. Now this thing weighs around 4,450 pounds, and it'll do 0 to 60 in about 6.8 seconds with a quarter mile in 15.1 seconds, which isn't too shabby. But of course, fuel economy is a bit more important than performance figures for a three-row SUV like this. And the Telluride features an EPA-rated fuel economy of 18 miles per gallon city, 24 miles per gallon highway, and 20 miles per gallon combined, which isn't amazing, but it's fairly average and solid in class. Now what that means is, given that this has an 18.8 gallon fuel tank, you can expect around 376 miles on average using combined driving. That being said, in my time with the car, on highway use, I was getting over 25 miles per gallon, which means on road trips, you can expect as much as 450 miles of range, or even more if you can improve upon that number, which I did see it. So what's it like to drive the Kia Telluride? Well, there's a lot of really cool features in it. Obviously, things that help with safety. Your general comfort and visibility is quite good. I like the fact that we have our video rear view mirror here, which, like I said, bypasses a lot of the downsides of getting a three-row SUV. And so there's a lot in this vehicle that just makes sense. Things like the A-pillar aren't too obstructive. You get good visibility. And one of my favorite Kia features that makes its way into a lot of their vehicles is the fact that when you put your turn signals on, for example, you actually get this little camera view which comes up down in the driver digital display here, and it shows you what's in your blind spot thanks to cameras which are actually located on the mirrors. And that, to me, is such a cool feature. It's a lot of that, you know, going the extra mile that really makes the value proposition for this vehicle just insane. I mean, some of the features that are actually in these vehicles are things that aren't even available on significantly more expensive luxury type models of vehicles. And for that reason, you get why people are going and buying out Kia Tellurides, because there is just nothing quite like this. If you want the experience of Telluride, there's only one vehicle that'll provide that experience. Now, as the actual ride quality, you get a little bit more of this like wallowy feel with the X Pro, and that's not specific to the X Pro. It's the fact that we have these taller off-road tires, and what they do is they just move a little bit around more. It's going to be a little bit cushier because of those tires too, but you might notice a bit of wandering on the road, whereas the standard SX Prestige luxury models are going to come with these larger 20-inch wheels that are going to be larger and therefore a bit more firmer on the road, so you actually get a softer ride by going with the X Pro package, which is kind of a funny thing. You just have to deal with that wallowing effect that I talked about earlier. But all in all, it's such a nice driving vehicle. Everything is so smooth and it feels fairly direct. It's not overly dynamic by any means, but it's just an enjoyable vehicle to drive. It's very, very quiet. You can't hear some of the vehicles around me that have exhausts and stuff on the harder accelerations. It's quite comfortable, and even the Harman Kardon sound system just sounds absolutely phenomenal. I think if you were to check out one of these in person at a dealership, take it for a test drive, I think you would be very, very happy with the way that this thing drives and the way that you interact with the Kia Telluride. So there you have it. Hopefully now you have a good understanding of why the Kia Telluride is so popular as an SUV, especially with such a wide price range. Now, let's say you are sold on the Kia Telluride and you'd like to buy one. Well, Kia offers them in 10 different trim levels. So how do you decide which one you want to buy? Well, on the upside, that is a lot of trim levels, but that means there's a lot of variety in between and a lot of different price points to work with depending on what options you want. Personally, the lower trim levels seem to be some of the most valuable because you get that V6 powertrain with that 8-speed automatic transmission, and that is a big part of what makes this vehicle so special, along with the size and everything that comes with it for those 8-passenger models. Those are, of course, going to be front-wheel drive, so you're going to have to spend a bit more money if you do want the all-wheel drive models for, let's say, snowy or rainy areas that you might be living in. On top of that, if you want to spend a bit more money, want something a bit more on the luxury side, well, then there's the SX trim levels, and those are great values as well. As you saw with this one here, having the heated and ventilated seats front and rear is huge, not to mention the 3-zone climate control. That makes this a very comfortable vehicle regardless of what seat you're in. So lots of options to choose with. The best thing you can do is go to a dealer and see what exactly works for you. Now with that, that is going to be the end of the video. I think this thing is absolutely incredible and would love to hear your opinions or interactions. Do you own one already? Are you considering buying one? Let me know down below. And of course, if you could hit that like button for me, I'd really appreciate it. And consider getting subscribed for more content like this in the future. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.